Sonia, I would say, I mean, just record when you're ready. Oh, there we go.
Sorry. Let me just close my. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Some of you who are not able to join us live for our school council meeting, hopefully you are joining us through our recorded session, which is being placed on our school website. I'm going to just hand it over to our school council chair, Catherine Porter, who's going to get us started for our evening together.
Thanks for being here, either jumping on in a little bit or if you're watching the recording. I know it's been a bit of a crazy school year and now we're just trying to wrap it up well. And so we're glad to have David from Pathways with us tonight, and Sonia's going to introduce him in a little bit. And so if you are able to jump on live, just be sure to mute yourself and you can turn your camera off, whatever you're more comfortable with. And I asked Sonia to lead us in our land acknowledgement tonight, so I'm going to turn it over to her now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to read it, and I do have some comments I'd like to share. The Hamilton-Wentworth District School Board acknowledges our presence on ancestral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee Confederacy land as determined by the Dish with One Spoon Treaty. The Dish with One Spoon wampum belt represents the treaty relationship between the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Anishinaabe with respect to sharing the land and resources thereon. The intent of this agreement is for all nations sharing this territory to do so responsibly, respectfully, and sustainably in perpetuity. And we respect the longstanding relationships with the Indigenous communities, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Six Nations of the Grand River. And my connection to our land acknowledgement, as well as our relationship with our treaty partners, is of course to take some time to also acknowledge the recent discovery and deep loss of the murdered 215 children, their remains that were found at the site of a former residential school in Kamloops, BC. And for some people, they responded with shock and horror. And for those of us who had done our own learnings, our own listening to our Indigenous treaty partners, we had heard of these stories, but we are equally horrified by this tragedy. In my extending of my own learning, I wanted to find out, here we are in the Hamilton area, what would be our nearest connection to that? And that is the Mohawk Institute in Brantford, which is a mere 39 kilometers away. And that particular institute had run from the 1830s to 1970, which is incredible to think that it was in existence for such a long time. So hundreds of young people were taken from their homes, taken from their mothers, their fathers, their aunties, their grandparents, and they were forced to live in horrible conditions. And this is just within kilometers away from where we are. So when I think of this news, it makes me think of the necessity to listen to our treaty partners, to listen and to create those sacred spaces and honor those who have been lost, and to use the voices that we do have to advocate for justice and for accountability of the systems that were created against them and operated against them, as well as our role as settlers to make and create space for our treaty partners to lead the way towards justice and accountability. So that would be my connection to our time together, as well as our relationship to our treaty partners. Before we continue, and I know that our chair, Catherine, has already asked for anyone who's not participating to mute their mics and to turn off their cameras to save for bandwidth. I would like to turn off my camera just momentarily and introduce one of our teaching staff, who is also a representative of the council, and her name is Catherine Woods, or Kathy Woods, and I'm just going to turn it off and let Kathy have a few words.
I almost didn't unmute myself. I've done that a couple times and actually given lessons. So nice to meet everybody. Yes, so Sonia asked me if I would like to join the school council, and I said absolutely. I would love to. So I was also asked just to give a little background of what I do at the school. Normally, for several years, I've been teaching science, and in fact, Catherine, I taught Clayton. I think it was 2 years ago now. Well, maybe a year and a half. When I remember it was the beginning of COVID. So I taught Clayton Porter, grade 10 academic science. And I often think about how he's doing. So I'll have to have a chat with you later about that. I've taught chemistry and biology, senior levels, junior levels. But currently, I found my passion, and it is to teach the alt ed classes. I did a little bit of teaching for several years at Sir John A. Macdonald in an alt ed capacity, and I really took to it. So I've requested that I do the same at Bernie Custis. So now I'm working with students. So many different types of students. I would say many of them are in risk, but some of them are not. They just need an alternative type setting for whatever reason. They don't feel comfortable in a regular classroom. They might have other issues in their personal lives that take them away from the school for a certain amount of time, and they need to, readjust and come back through an alt-ed setting, and then eventually go back into the regular classroom stream. So generally what happens is if students have a low credit count, so if they're in grade 9 and they've missed some credits, by the end of grade 9, you should have 8 credits. So we kind of flag them early on, the student success department, as well as guidance and admin. And so we often don't have a lot of grade 9 students enter into alt-ed, the alt-ed classes at Bernie Custis. But in grade 10, we might say, okay, if you're 2 credits behind in grade 9, that indicates that you might not be successful later on. So let's do what we can to kind of bring up the credit count. But generally, in my past, I've dealt mostly with grade 11s and 12s as opposed to the grade 9s and 10s. And what I like to do is, especially with the grade 12s, try to get them on a plan so that they can graduate in June. So that's kind of my specialty, and I work really close with guidance to do that as well. But overall, there's so many reasons why kids might come into the classroom. So it could be because they want to graduate by the end of the year and they need an extra couple credits in order to do that. And I can give them either projects or booklets. A lot of our stuff can be experiential. So I've had guest speakers come in from Mohawk College or people from the trades. I had a wonderful woman come in. She was early 30s, was making $100,000 a year welding all across Canada. So she came in to my classroom and just wowed the kids at what you can do with the trades. Yeah, so we are offering great certification courses right now. We have another alt-ed teacher who's come in and set up with the Boys and Girls Club of Hamilton. And we're doing Wednesday classes where there's workshops being offered. The one coming up tomorrow is conflict resolution. So the students can take the workshop and then oftentimes get certified or certification. We did a leadership certification recently, WMIS, Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act certification, all this that can lead to their resume, just making the resume look great with all these wonderful skills and whatnot that they've acquired in class, as much as they can acquire experiential learning in a classroom situation. With COVID, it's a little more difficult. We used to have kids go to the Art Gallery of Hamilton for an art course. But right now we're doing most of it online through the Boys and Girls Club, just connecting with them through Teams, and it's been pretty successful. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But that's pretty much what I'm doing right now, currently, in a nutshell. Thanks, Sonia.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out. We'd love to give you some more information about the amazing work that Kathy and the other teachers on her team are doing to support students who may not be successful in a traditional school setting, but are doing really, really well in this alternative setting. Okay, so moving forward, this is our agenda for today. We are going to have some really wonderful information from some of our community partners from Compass Pathways, and we're going to hear from both Jack and Dave around the Pathways program, and then I have some items to share for the principal's report. So I'd like to turn it over to Dave and to Jack to tell us a little bit more about their program.
Thank you so much. Just to clarify, I should keep my camera off for this, right?
Oh, sorry. If you wish to turn it on, please go ahead.
Great. I'm sort of used to that, so I'll turn it on. Now I can't get it to turn on. there I am. Yeah, my name is Jack Bernacki. I'm the Pathways Education Manager at Compass Community Health. Dave Isaac's here with me today. He's one of our Pathways coaches. Compass Community Health is an organization in the north end of Hamilton, right near the Bonetto Elementary School. And that's a sort of a multi-service health center, a community, sort of what's called the community health center. And that's sort of a combination between like a doctor's office or a medical center and a community services organization. And so Pathways to Education is a program that we operate to support high school students in the north end, sort of central Hamilton. Is there a way to share a presentation or not?
Yes, absolutely. I'll just turn it over with, just give me a second.
Yep. I don't think I've done this on Teams, so this will be my chance. This button probably is the right one with the arrow once it's turned on. Dave, do you care to introduce yourself? What your role is?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Dave. I'm one of the Pathways coaches at Pathways to Education Hamilton out of Compass. And I'm one of, I don't know, I think there's 16 or 17 of us, and we're kind of dispersed in all the different schools in Hamilton, mainly Bernie Custis, as well as Cathedral and Westdale. Those are our main schools. But yeah, and obviously we're not inside the schools right now or during the pandemic at all, but we have been supporting students over the course of the last year through the pandemic virtually. And we'll get to that and show you what that looks like right now.
Super. So Pathways to Education is a national program. It exists in something like 20, 26, 27, a few more opened up this year, 26 or 27 communities across Canada. It started in Toronto. There's 4 sites in Toronto. We have us in Hamilton, Kitchener, Kingston, Ottawa. There's a number in Quebec, all the way in the East Coast. We have St. John and Halifax, all the West Coast, Vancouver, and sort of every province in between. So it's a large national program. In Hamilton, we're operating out of the out of Compass Community Health, formerly the North Hamilton Community Health Center. The program is for high school students, as I mentioned, in our catchment area, which is primarily the north end, but a bit of central Hamilton as well. It is both an after-school program in the community and an in-school support program. It provides help with school, but also other things in life. It's for the students who are part of a program. It's a community to belong to, and it's dedicated to seeing and supporting them to be successful in high school and to take a step after high school that'll sort of further their success, whether that's moving on to college or university or trade or training or an apprenticeship or starting a business, whatever it is. The program, as I mentioned, it serves sort of the north and central part of Hamilton. It is a catchment-based program. So any student who lives inside, I presume you can see this map, anyone who has their sort of their home address within this area is eligible to join our program, and who's in high school and who's under the age of 21. And so you can see it's anywhere north of Barton between Queen Street and Sherman Avenue. And then between Wellington and Sherman, it extends up to Maine. So
I'm sorry, Jack, we don't see your, we don't see the movement of your slides.
Oh, it's stuck on the same one?
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate that. Okay, I'll just stop sharing and exit out of that. That's too bad. So as I mentioned, it's a catchment-based program. So you can imagine north of Barton Street between Sherman and Queen Street, and then between Wellington and Sherman, it extends up to Main Street. So sort of an L. It's a large area in sort of this north and central Hamilton. So the elementary schools that we typically take in students from in the public board would be most or all of Bonetto, most or all of Kathy Weaver. And there will be a portion of students from Dr. Davy and a portion of students from Prince of Wales. And much of that feeds into BCSS, but a bit of that does feed into Westdale as well. So it's a catchment-based program, as I mentioned. The key thing to know about Pathways is that there are 4 types of support that we offer. All the students who enroll in our program who are in high school who live inside our catchment area and who are under the age of 21 get access to all 4 of those core supports. Those core supports are a one-on-one support with a coach like Dave, after-school tutoring, mentorship and sort of enriching workshops and field trips, and financial support. I'll hand it off to Dave to describe what a coach does and how a coach works with the student.
Yeah, so as I said before, there's about 15 to 17 of us, and basically once you join the program, you're assigned to one of us to be your coach. And what that means, I always kind of describe it as we're like a life coach or an educational coach. And so what that looks like is we meet you and we kind of introduce the program. Also start things off by doing some goal setting. It's very goal setting oriented, our coaching. And so what that looks like is just really trying to get to know the student and what they want to achieve in school and outside of school, extracurricular as well. And we are there to support them and hold them accountable to those goals throughout the school year. We can usually provide them the means to achieve those goals. Like Jack said, if it's, one of the goals is to try and get a certain average in their semester, then that's something we can look at together, and we can provide that tutoring support to help them bump up their grades or get their grades to the level that they want them to. The coaching role also kind of looks at things long term as well. As Jack is saying, once you get into grade 11 and 12, it's starting to look at, okay, what's the next step for you after high school? And so we provide mentorship, and we can provide kind of that support to, or kind of career counseling support as well. And we can also connect them with post-secondary tours, well, virtual right now, and anybody else who can kind of support or guide them along that way too, in terms of applications and that kind of thing. I guess you could say the career mentorship aspect of things. And so like I said before, typically pre-pandemic, we were inside the schools often, and that would be where we would see a lot of the students. We would meet them regularly, whether it be once a week or bi-weekly. In person was kind of the norm, right? And now that's not the norm. So we have switched and kind of pivoted to fully virtual for the most part, where we will check in on them through phone calls, or even we meet the students where they're at. So if, Instagram is a very popular platform for them to communicate on. So we have professional Instagram accounts too, where we can interact with students and have meetings through there. As well as texting. A lot of students just want a text message, and that's one of the main ways we can communicate with them as well.
2 of the other features, so that's the coaching. So each student is paired up with a coach like Dave to get that kind of support throughout the 4 years of high school. We also offer the after-school tutoring. Prior to the pandemic, we were in 3 locations in North and Central Hamilton at the North Hamilton Compass Community Health, near Bonetto, at Eva Rothwell Center on Burlington and Wentworth, and then also at the Mission Service Opportunity Center, which is Wentworth Street near Cannon, not far from Cathedral. And it was Monday to Thursday, 4:30 to 7:30, 3 hours a night, free tutoring available in their community, steps from their home. We had about 100 volunteers a year. working professionals, university students, all kinds of people there to support students. We'd offer a food offering, so students would be able to share a meal, get snacks. But also the third component of support is the sort of social component, or the sort of the mentoring, the social enrichment. So that after school tutoring was also just a general drop-in program as well. Students could come in and spend time with the staff, like Dave, spend time with our volunteers, learn about life, spend time together having fun, whether that's playing games or doing workshops. We would offer workshops like resume writing workshops or career exploration workshops. We'd even do totally recreational fun things, doing field trips to rock climbing gyms, or doing a running group, or just going outside and playing basketball. So there was a kind of a social component to the program, allowing youth in our program to spend time with positive adult role models and their peers in a positive environment. The fourth component of the program is financial support. Each student who's enrolled in our program gets a Pathways to Education scholarship. That's $500 per year up to the 4 years, grade 9 to grade 12. So it's a $2,000 scholarship that they take with them after they leave Pathways to spend on their post-secondary education. That can be applied to their application fees. For students who aren't headed to post-secondary education, there is some flexibility with how that can be spent as well, which is really great. Additionally, for students whose families require it and who reach out to us and sort of go through a very simple application process, we have a monthly financial support program as well available to families who require it. And that's on a per student basis of financial support. So that's a coach like Dave, after school tutoring, workshops and enriching social activities, and financial support in terms of a scholarship and that additional support if required. That's what Pathways is all about. Right now we're serving 560 students, in and around 100 or so, a little more from Bernie Custis, but there are many more out there. We're excited for another year. We have room for 700 for next year, and hoping to register more. So if you're watching this as a recording, or you're here right now and you know any students who would benefit from our program, we are excited to enroll them. Enrollment is very simple. It's all online process these days. So it's can be done from the comfort of your home. And it takes about 30 minutes to get everything done, that initial meeting and all that registration taken care of, and you're enrolled in our program. Does anyone have any questions? Or Dave, maybe you want to add anything that I missed, and then we can take questions.
Sure, yeah, I'll just highlight one other component that the coach's role is. And so I mentioned that we're inside the schools, whether it be Bernie Custis or the other ones that I mentioned before. We thrive by building relationships with the school. And so we are so pleased to be able to have a great relationship with Bernie Custis and all this wonderful staff there. And then that allows us to better support the students too, when we can talk to the teachers, kind of figure out what's going on from their perspective, and then we can coordinate best kind of support plan, talk to student success, communicate with guidance as needed, communicate with administrative assistant as needed, just for looking at attendance, those kinds of things, all these communication pieces so that we can best support the students. That's about it.
One thing I'll add, Dave agreed. I've already got that email already ready to go, so I'll send that right after the presentation. Catherine, happy to share that. Is that Pathways Education also prides itself on being an evidence-based program. It's regularly evaluated yearly, and it has been evaluated a number of times by independent third parties. Pathways Education is an award-winning program that does and is successful at increasing graduation rates in communities where graduation rates are low. So in communities where graduation rates are in the kind of 50%, 60% of people graduating, Pathways, the support, the enriching support, and the partnerships that Pathways forms with the school boards, with other community service organizations, we're able to support students to be quite successful in high school. It's a really a program we're very, very proud of. And so anyone with additional questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Catherine has a question.
Yeah, I have a question. Thanks.
Okay, super.
Yeah, so I've worked with the Pathways coaches throughout the years, and they're wonderful. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. But I've always wondered, how do you approach students? Is it usually the grade 8 teacher that recommends them for Pathways? Or how do you find the students that enter in? And because you would have to sift through a lot of parameters too, like do they live in the right neighborhood? Are they between these streets, etc.? Just curious about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually operate sort of a sub portion of our program is a grade 8 focused transition program. It's been more difficult this year and last. I will say, since we are not able to get into the schools, but we offer at Kathy Weaver, Bonetto, Dr. Davy, and 2 Catholic schools in the area as well. We do 4 in-class presentations. This is called our PATH program. We focus on things like goal setting, team building, and fears and anxieties about entering high school. And so we're there 4 times a year talking about the program, what it is, offering that transition support, offering some of that educational component, but also promoting Pathways as a great option for them for high school. And then students, so that's how primarily most grade 8s will learn about our program, and then they'd be encouraged to register. We do get a great deal of support from the high schools, who in the autumn will sort of focus on identifying students who are not already enrolled and recommending them to participate with us. But that has been that grade 8 outreach has been more difficult because we haven't been able to get into classrooms. We've produced a series of videos. We're about to go live with them with the grade 8 teachers, but we're waiting on the decision from the Ford government on whether students will be in school for the last month or not. That'll determine how we proceed with that.
Exactly. Oh, good point. And I just had one last question. I know I would have, and I would love to come by Pathways one day myself, just so I can see the big picture of it and how it works, because there's these other components rather than just getting the $500 a year. You know, they're getting, like you said, they're getting the coaching, and then there's enrichment. Would I, as a teacher, one day when everything's back to normal, be able to come in maybe with a group of us, come in and just check it out?
Yeah, I think that would definitely be doable. Now, the timing might be the only challenge, because the after-school program operates more like on a kind of 4:30. We're not 100% certain what's going to be happening with September, but typically we were running 4:30 to 7:30. So I don't know if you can assemble your students during that time, but there would be nothing. We wouldn't be opposed to having you come and have a look at what it looks like in all of its wonder with 20, 30, sometimes even 40 or 50 students at a time, social activities, tutoring, all kinds of things, meals being shared. We would welcome you to join us, and even if you can't bring students, we would welcome you, or maybe you and some of your colleagues would like to come and stop by.
Sorry to interrupt. It wouldn't be students, it would be colleagues, right? Because I think that connection would be really good for me as a teacher, just that when I'm talking to kids in my class, especially in alt ed, it's a lot of one-on-one. I could say, oh, well, you know, you're working with Dave, and I remember, you know, I know where I saw Dave, and I know what's offered there. So that would be really
cool. We can bring it to life. This is something that we, Dave and other coaches, really benefit from too. The more you can accurately portray the service and what's offered, and do a very warm handoff to a student, the better. So we would be happy to have you once our plans are set for the new year. Dave, I'm sure can connect you up to visit us. And I know the Mission Services program site is the one that's nearest to BCSS, and that's where Dave has been working. So we should be able to arrange something.
Great, thanks.
I look forward to that day. I'm sure it'll happen sometime.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Dave, for taking the time to just explain and describe all the different services that Pathways provides, both in their schools as well as out after schools, and all the programming that students can tap into. I hope our parents understand the multiple supports that you can provide our students, and I too hope that come September we're back in the building working together. As David said, you know, we do collaborate so much in supporting our students, and they're just a few steps away. So we're just the proximity of it is really impactful, and so I'm really grateful that we can continue our partnership. And for any parents who would like some more information, please check out our school council page on our website. We've posted some really great information from the Pathways team, and of course there's some contact information if you have some more information. So thank you again for sharing this great news and partnership, and hopefully more folks will come alongside.
Super. Yeah, check out that information on the parent page, 905-523-6719. This is being recorded, so rewind that. And it's pathways@compassch.org. Reach out to us. Also, Facebook, Pathways Hamilton, Instagram, Pathways Hamilton. Check us out and get registered.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'm going to just take over the screen and return to our PowerPoint. And
I'm gonna check out, folks. Thank you very much for inviting us, and I gotta go put my son to bed.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much. Thank you again.
Thanks, Tanya.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you.
Catherine.
So at this point in our presentation is the principal's report, and the items that I'd like to share with you are just in response to some of the queries that we've received from our parent and guardian community, and we'd like to share some updates if we could. So the last time that we were together, we had some tentative information about our hopes as a school to not just celebrate our students who are graduating. This year's focus as a board, HWDSB, is to celebrate the class of 2020-2021. And the reason for the focus, or the shift rather, from grads to a celebration of our class is that because of the pandemic, some students have been, successful in earning credits, and others, for various personal reasons, health reasons, family circumstances, they haven't been able to earn all of their credits at this time, and we're hopeful that they will be able to earn them shortly. But we did want to recognize the milestones that students anticipate at this time of the year, and so the shift has moved from a graduating celebration to a celebration of the class of 2020-2021. So I just wanted to provide an update. Before we were together, we shared that as a school board, we are also under not only the direction of the Ministry of Education, but also under the direction of our public health, Hamilton Public Health Services. And since our last meeting, the color coding system that was used by the ministry has now been replaced by three-step reopening plan. And the most recent information that we have received is that the first step 1, would most likely start mid-June. And under that step reopening plan, there would be no indoor celebrations that would be permitted. However, there could be outdoor celebrations or events that are allowed up to 10 individuals in a gathering. Now, in terms of our graduation celebrations, that really does limit the number of students as well as staff who can be together in that outdoor gathering. And so we will have to share the information with our parent and student community that our celebrations will be done over a series of days in order to accommodate our students. So until we have the direction from public health, and we're hoping that the direction will come very soon, then we will be very quickly sharing the information with our school community as to the days that they can look forward to. Number 1, booking a slot that their student can come and receive their celebratory class of 2020-21 swag, as the young people call it. They are gifts from us at the School of Bernie Custis. We have purchased caps and gowns for our students, as well as a celebration, a year-end celebration gift for our graduating class. So unfortunately, we don't have any definite and definitive information to share, but as I said, we are following the direction of the ministry in terms of the reopening plan, and we do hear that in mid-June we should be in step 1, which allows for 10 persons, and that includes staff and students, to be outside in an outside gathering. Step 2 allows for 25 people to be in an outdoor gathering. So we're not too sure where we will be at the end of June. And I do have to say that the week of the 25th will be, let me just confirm that with you. Sorry, that is the week of the 21st. That will be tentatively our week to celebrate our graduating class. So more information to come, and we will be sharing that information on various platforms. We will have a school messenger information blurb that we sent out to staff, to students and their parents and guardians, as well as information on our various platforms. Instagram, we'll be tweeting that out, as well as our school website. So more information to come there. Our next information item is regarding our quadmester learning model. And for those of you who have heard, the Ministry of Education's directive is that all Ontario schools will be offering their what formerly used to be known semester 1 courses will be delivered in a quadmester learning model. And what that means is that on average, a student has 4 courses for the 4 periods, period 1, 2, which is traditionally before lunch, and periods 3, 4, which are traditionally after lunch. In the quadmester model, this list of 4 courses are divided into 2 halves. So in the first quadmester, period 1 is in the morning, and that's to be determined in terms of its length of time and its delivery. And period 2 would be after lunch. So more information will be provided to our parent and guardian community. As this is June the 1st, this is the last day for our parent community to reply using the parent portal to their decision as to whether their students will be returning to face-to-face instruction or whether they will remain at home through the e-learning model. Again, to conclude, the second quadmester is periods 3 in the morning and periods 4 in the afternoon. Now, I just wanted to mention that any parents who have made a decision that their student will be learning through the e-learning model have until midnight tonight to use the parent portal to indicate that choice. And once that decision has been made, the student will complete quadmester 1 to quadmester 2 in that model, and there will not be any switching out of learning modes. So I do have to say that if you're thinking of having your student learn with the e-learning model, our list of courses are limited, and they are pretty much limited to our compulsory courses. So our students can take their English, their math, their science, their geographies through the e-learning model. However, the elective courses such as music, technology, phys ed, art, family studies, they will not be offered through the e-learning model. And I think it's important for our parents and guardians to understand that these courses that are offered in e-learning are not going to be offered as they had been throughout this year with teachers designated to work alongside the students. This is definitely independent work that our students will be given through the e-learning model. They will have a teacher who would be assigned to their courses, of course, but there will be no synchronous learning throughout this model. So if you have any questions at all, we ask that you reach out to the school, and we are happy to respond and provide any additional information or supports that you may need regarding the quadmester model. So again, the quadmester model, you have until midnight tonight, June 1st, to indicate your preference for your student to learn through the e-learning model. If you do nothing at all that means is that your students will be returning to Bernie Custis for face-to-face instruction through the quad learning model. Now, looking ahead, I have a few slides to share with our parents and with our guardians around the upcoming school council elections. So there aren't very many slides to share, but I would like to just highlight some points for our elections, which will be happening in September of our next school year. Hopefully everyone can see these slides, that these elections determine the parent representatives and not the executive, which is Catherine Porter, or vice chair, which we don't have a position filled at this time, so that could be filled. The minimum membership includes majority of our parents. The parent membership is not restricted to any number of parents, and an HWDSB employee can be a member of the school council of their child's school as a school representative if they declare that they are an HWDSB employee. So step 1, we consider forming an election planning committee. Some of the steps I'm sharing with you are by the Constitution for the school council, and I'm going to just add some comments if I can after reading each one. The secondary school should include a school representative, who in our case is Kathy Woods, appointed by school council. It is recommended that this election planning committee be formed in the spring prior to the next school year. Of course, due to our pandemic environment over the last year, we are allowed to adjust this requirement, and it's understandable that some of the parameters of planning the school election unfortunately would not have been met, but we will be able to still move forward with our elections in the fall. The next step is to develop an election plan before our last school council meeting of the year to include the date, the time, and the location of the election for the school council party members. I will be sharing with you the school council date towards the end of our slides of this presentation. And this election date has to be within the first 30 calendar days of the school year, and we'll be submitting a permit date through eBase. Hopefully, all things being well, we'll be back to face-to-face meetings in which we, again, will be providing that information to our parent guardians community so that all interested parents and guardians can participate in the elections to come. There will be advertisements of the election, and we'll be communicating that in June through the school newsletter as well as through the website. Step 4 is that we'll be informing our parents of the process for nominations and elections. And step 5, ongoing communication the days leading up to the election is essential. And we will be providing lots of information through our various platforms to our parents to make sure all of our community partners are aware of the elections to come. And here's a little graphic for you to just a breakdown of how the election is run. We collect the nomination forms. We create a list of bios for those candidates. We share with the parents before the election, and we inform parents of the election date and how many reps to vote for. So again, we'll be providing that information to our parent community in the early part of September, because our election will be September 28th. The last Tuesday of the month of September, sorry. And we'll hold the election, which again will be held Tuesday, September 28th. As many of you are not able to participate in this meeting, we would normally be holding any questions, but we do welcome your questions. And if you have any questions that are coming to mind after viewing this recording, we do ask for you to reach out to us at the school, call the school, or email it, and we're happy to respond, either myself or our school chair, Catherine Porter. During the election, they will be conducted by secret ballot. Only parents or guardians of a student enrolled at the school can vote. All eligible voters may cast only one vote for each parent position, and voters must be present at the school on the day of the election during the hours of the election, and individuals running for a position should not be staffing the election table. So as we get closer to the election date of September 28th, not only will we be sharing the information of the election process with our parent and guardian community, we'll also be seeking some volunteers who might be able to help run the election on the day of the 28th. We will announce the names of the elected council members within the first 30 days of the election, and here are some examples of how we'll do that: through school newsletter, our school website, through our social media platforms, as well as through the internal school council Yammer. This is an extra bit of information which is not necessarily connected to elections, but for any parents who are interested in being involved at the system level as a parent member, PIC, which stands for Parent Involvement Committee, is currently receiving applications for the 2021-22 school year. And these points that are on our slide just tell you a little bit more about what that membership looks like. So to be on the membership, the criteria is that you have to be a parent or guardian of a student enrolled at HWDSB. You are selected to ensure broad representation and diversity across the district. Your commitment, if selected for this position, is to a 2-year term, and you're able to attend monthly meetings the second Tuesday of each month. So you will not be missing our school council meetings, which are normally the first Tuesday of each month. And as well, you have to show a demonstrated commitment to school and community involvement. And I will be placing the information for the PIC applications on our school website. And we hope that if any parents or guardians are interested, that you will apply. We would love to have you represent our school community at this table. And so I'd like to just thank you so much for viewing our recording of our school council meetings. We understand that our circumstances are very different, and it's difficult to sometimes engage on a virtual platform, but we do hope you have had an opportunity to at least view the recording. And again, if you have any questions, we ask you to reach out to the school, so either myself or our school council chair, Catherine Porter, will be responding to your questions. So once again, thank you so much for your work on behalf of your students. Together in our partnership, we will help our students succeed and be successful and reach their pathway goals. We don't have any questions, so I'm just going to turn it over to our council chair to end our evening together. I'll turn it over to you, Catherine.
Thanks so much, Sonia. This is, yeah, so much good information tonight. And so thank you for recording it, and then we'll post it. And we're looking forward to finishing the year well and looking forward to next year. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
That's great. Thanks, Sonia. Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you so much. I will be posting this later tonight, Catherine.
Okay.
And if you think that I can send it to you as well. So if you think that's helpful for the parent Facebook group, if that's more accessible to them, that's completely fine. We can do that too.
Yeah, I can post a link on there for sure.
Okay. All right. So it'll just take me a little while just to save it, and then to get more of a compressed link for that to be placed on the website, as well as to something to share for you tonight. And Kathy, thank you again for speaking. I think it's good for the parents to see some of our staff.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Well, it was great listening to somebody, speak very knowledgeably about pathways, because I've only ever had bits and pieces of it from the different coaches that I speak with. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was great. Do you normally have people like that come in?
Try as much as we can to have some guest speakers, folks who can share. Once we had our very first one, we had Melissa Brody talking about mental health supports that we can offer our students in the pandemic. Heather spoke another time around, it was the same time actually, around just student success initiatives that we're doing to try to re-engage our students. So as much as possible, we try to make connections with who else is in our buildings.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies. Have a great evening.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you.